Behind every vote and every speech, there's a ripple effect that will make its way to cryptocurrency. Let's just be real here. Depending on who gets elected will decide the fate of cryptocurrency in the short term and the long term. We're not only talking about cryptocurrency prices, but we're also talking about policies that could potentially change the entire landscape of cryptocurrency as we speak. Millions of people are headed to the general elections to cast their votes. This is months and years of political maneuvering, debates.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan. And it's like 4 sentences. Oh, we'll try and lower taxes.
You want to talk about his deal with China? He ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military.
And the large budgets all pointed at this one moment right here. General elections are the final decision. This is where voters select the president, members of Congress, and a range of state and local officials. It's a massive, organized event that brings together every eligible American to choose the leaders of this country. We have Trump versus Kamala Harris, and the question that I want to answer in this video is, when exactly should I sell my car, leverage my house, and dump my entire life savings into cryptocurrency so I could go on that trip to Bahamas and still feel empty inside? Here's a fact. Trump is aggressively bullish on cryptocurrency. Do not get that confused.
This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA. It's going to be. It's not going to be made anywhere else. And if Bitcoin is going to the moon, as we say, it's going to the moon, I want America to be the nation that leads the way.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we just had a former president say that they want cryptocurrency to go to the moon. We also have Trump's son launching a DeFi platform called World Liberty Financial, and Trump has been fueling his campaign with NFT sales for a very long time. Yes, I said that correctly. Trump has his own NFT collection that he's been making millions of dollars off of. It's his official collection. This is not a scam. This is not some duplicate from some anonymous founder. It's him selling his own NFT collection.
This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some Bitcoins.
So obviously he's extremely bullish on cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has been pretty quiet about cryptocurrency until recent history. In September, she said she wants to encourage innovative technologies like AI and digital assets during a New York City fundraiser on September 22nd. This was her first statement on cryptocurrency as a presidential candidate, and obviously a very weak signal towards cryptocurrency in general. And the reason why this is important is because cryptocurrency has been dominating corporate donations, meaning there's a lot of people in cryptocurrency sending money to these presidential candidates. Crypto sector corporations donated $119.2 million in 2024, and this was updated June 30th. Blockchain companies have supplied 48% of the $248 million of corporate money donated to influential federal elections this cycle, according to the research. Now, obviously, we're in the middle of a Bitcoin bull run, and the altcoin cycle is right around the corner. So the question is this actually going to affect the results of the presidential election? Are we going to get Trump as president because he's pro-Bitcoin and there was a lot of money that was invested in this outcome? According to PLOS One, a study on voting behavior found that explicit political party preference is the most significant predictor of voting choices, meaning that voters typically choose candidates from their preferred political party. This study is important because it reveals that party loyalty rather than individual candidate qualities often drives voter decisions. Conducted with rigorous sampling and statistical analysis, it provides credible insights into what motivates voters, helping us understand the primary influences on voting behavior in democratic elections. So when it comes to the general public, it's not really about how much crypto money is going to what presidential candidate. It's more about what parties they believe in. When it comes to the actual crypto party, there's not really a clear winner. As you can see right here, according to consensus, we have about 35% saying they're Republicans, and then we have about 32% saying that they're Democrats, with 26% of people that haven't made their mind up yet. Also, as you can see right here, 54% of people think that Kamala Harris needs to spell out her crypto game plan. She hasn't really been talking about crypto at all. So when it comes to political parties, it seems like Trump has the upper hand slightly in general, but I would say that crypto voters are not that significant anyways. According to Digital Chamber, we have 1 in 7 likely voters, 16% or only 26 million people identify as a part of the crypto voting bloc. And of that 26 million, we have 92% of crypto owners that actually plan to vote. So to me, this is not significant when it comes to understanding the election outcome. Now, if you look at the general election, you can see that Harris is leading by about 2 points. We have 48.1% to Trump's 46.7%. Obviously, this could be rigged. We don't know for sure, what's the actual election outcome. But according to Polymarket, which is a betting website that was built on the blockchain, you could see that Donald Trump is dominating at 67% to 33.1%. Now, at first I was thinking like, hey, this is probably manipulated because Polymarket is a crypto market and people that, vote for Trump are crypto type people, but according to the facts in the survey, this is not really true. As I just explained before, it's about split down the middle, right? So the crypto people are voting for Trump and Kamala Harris. It's not just Trump. So if you ask me, I personally believe people that bet with their money are more influential than people that bet with their mouths, right? These general polls are just people talking, but we have an actual physical dollar amount attributed to these votes. This is Polymarket. This is people betting on the outcome of the presidential election. So to me, this is actually very meaningful, and I don't think it's as manipulated as people think. Now, when it comes to the actual outcome of this election cycle, it's very difficult to predict. It's pretty much down the middle. No one knows for sure. And when it comes to crypto specifically, I think they do have an influence over this presidential election, but I don't think it's going to be that big as other people are making it out to be. Now, from common sense and for what I think specifically, I think the Polymarket thing is very clear. It's like a very clear indicator. People are betting that Trump is going to win. We have these other polls that are coming out that looks pretty even. Kamala Harris winning. I really don't see that in my head from a common sense perspective. And here's why. We have an assassination attempt. Just think about that for a second. Somebody tried to kill President Trump. He was made out to be a martyr. And if we combine that with the debate with Joe Biden, which was like humiliation for Joe Biden, it was horrible.
Making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
Kamala Harris supported that. This dude is so old, he can't even walk down certain staircases. Just think about all of this in context, right? I think it's very obvious that Trump is going to win this election, and there's a lot of kind of finessing of the numbers in the background. And so personally, I'm betting on Trump winning, and I think it's obvious. Now, it's very interesting because according to the numbers, it does actually matter what party gets elected. So if we're looking at the stock market and we're talking about performance, like, hey, how much money are we going to make in this presidential election? According to the numbers, the stock market typically does better with a Democratic Party in office. And obviously Trump is Republican, so this is interesting. So let's take a look at how presidential elections influence the stock market according to history. Is it bullish or bearish? Let's dive into that part of the video because I think it's going to give us some clarity on what direction the market's supposed to go. Now, so that you guys understand, I'm going to be comparing everything to the S&P 500 and the Russell 2000. Now, the reason that we're using the stock market specifically is because it gives us a longer data set to to work with, right? Cryptocurrency only goes back to like 2010, depending on what coin you're looking at. So stocks are risk on assets, and it's the closest thing we have to cryptocurrencies with historical relevance. According to pretty much every research article you can find, it seems like when it comes to the performance of stock markets, that Democratic administrations typically do better. This study right here shows that between 1925 and 2015, stocks rose 10.7% per year on average when Democrats held the White House and fell 0.2% per year under Republicans. But the results are skewed by the Great Depression in 1929 and 1932 and the global financial crisis in 2008. If you exclude those two periods, there's little difference between the markets under the Republican and Democratic presidents. According to a study created by Blinder and Watson, it finds that the economy grows faster under Democratic presidents by approximately 1.79% on average. And they say that the difference is not entirely due to policy, but external factors like oil prices or consumer confidence. So pretty much every study states that there's a slight bias towards the Democratic Party, but really the entire market is controlled by external factors. And let's say hypothetically the bias was towards the Democratic Party. If Trump gets elected, I mean, the last time he was elected, the stock market did pretty good. As you can see right here, the S&P 500 went up 64.74% and the Russell 2000 went up 52.63%. The big stock market and these micro caps in the stock market did really well, showing that risk on assets performed well under President Trump's 4-year term. And you have to also understand that he was a part of the COVID crash. So even though there was this massive COVID crash, Trump did well when it comes to the performance of the stock market. Now, according to TD Economics, it explains that Democrats often inherit more favorable economic conditions, boosting stock returns under their administration. This effect visible in chart 3, which shows Democrats elected more frequently during early cycle phases, while Republicans often enter late cycle, leading to weaker returns. Is it on purpose or an accident? Nobody really knows, but it's pretty consistent that Democrats get into the White House during times of economic turmoil. When the market is ending, that's when they're usually in office. Could that be used as an indicator if Trump gets elected, the market can crash? I don't know. You guys know I've been pretty bearish in the short term. I do think the market's going to crash for a variety of reasons, but it doesn't matter either way because the altcoin cycle is right around the corner, and it seems like no matter who gets elected, it's going to be very bullish for all of cryptocurrency. So my conclusion is that the Federal Reserve holds more power over the economy than a president or a presidential election, and this is why I've been studying it in great detail. Follow for more because I'm dropping a complete video on the Federal Reserve and how it influences all risk on assets and pretty much every asset on the face of the planet. They are above the president because they control the money. They control the supply of money. Just think about that for a second. There's a reason why I focus all of my time and energy at understanding the Federal Reserve, and this is why I use that indicator as the indicator for the direction of the market. They're above the presidential elections. Now, what I do find interesting is the policies, the financial policies from Trump and Kamala Harris. I do want to look into specifically what policies are they looking to enact? What are they going to do with the money? I want to know because this is important for me, for you, for tax purposes. I mean, in every perspective financially, what's going to happen to our future for the next 4 years? And just to be clear with you, when it comes to who is right and who's wrong, I think it's wise to look at people that know how to make money. It's as simple as that. This scripture right here at Matthew 7:16 says that you will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? The general gist is, obviously, Trump is a billionaire. Kamala Harris is not. So maybe he knows something that Kamala Harris doesn't. And it's actually showing in their policies in my personal perspective. Let's not forget that Kamala Harris is a politician, okay? She comes from a politician background. All of her money was made in politics. She is a politician. She built her career as a prosecutor, first serving as a district attorney for San Francisco, then as California Attorney General, and later a U.S. Senator. Her wealth, estimated to be in the millions, has largely been acquired through her public service salary combined with royalties from her books and her husband's successful legal career. Meanwhile, Trump is a billionaire that made all of his money through business. This is very important to understand. He made his money by investing in real estate, media, and business, initially through his family's real estate holdings and later his own ventures, including high-profile projects like the Trump Towers, various hotels, resorts, and golf courses. Trump also gained substantial wealth from branding, licensing, and media, including his role as a host of The Apprentice. He is what you call an entrepreneur that was created from a family of entrepreneurs. Kamala Harris is worth about $6 to $7 million, and Trump is worth about $2.6 billion. So obviously, somebody knows a little bit more than somebody else. I think that's clear. I think the general public obviously knows that as well. Trump is essentially branded as the money guy, right? His whole thing is he's the money guy. He knows what to do with the economy. He's the strong leader, the passionate leader that's going to spearhead America into dominance over the world. This is his whole thing, right? So he's the business president. We know this clearly. So the goal of this video is not to go into all the other details, right? About like the humanitarian efforts and what she believes about this and what she believes about that, or what Trump believes about this, or their backgrounds, or all that drama, because it is getting crazy. The main focus of this video is to figure out what the heck is going to happen to our crypto if Kamala Harris gets elected or if Trump gets elected. I want to know if we're going to do well financially. This is a financial based video, just to be clear with everybody. So let's explore Kamala Harris's policies and exactly what she believes would be the best way to use the government's money. She believes that we should be taxing billionaires with some type of minimum tax. Billionaires need to pay their fair share in taxes to help invest in the nation and reduce the deficit. They should not be able to pay an effective tax rate lower than a teacher or a firefighter. By the way, you can find everything I'm saying in a PDF titled A New Way Forward for the Middle Class. So the whole goal here is that she's trying to advance the middle class. Now, one side of me is like, okay, yeah, of course, these guys have billions of dollars. Let them pay their fair share. They have all these ways to finesse the tax system in America. And that's a lot of money that could be going towards Americans, right? So that's one side of me. But the other side of me is like, okay, well, they learned that for a reason. They put the time and effort to understand the loopholes and all these things in the tax system that allows them to be efficient with their money, right? This is a big thing in entrepreneurship, and it's something I learned myself. It's one thing to make money, it's one thing to keep it. And this is a skill set they have acquired over the years. And even if Kamala Harris comes in with some type of billionaire tax policy, it's going to be very difficult for her to actually tax them for real. There's going to be workarounds all day. So is that an effective use of time? Personally, I don't think so. Now, another policy that she's going to be putting in is a corporate tax rate increase from 21% to 28%. She's really attacking the big corporations. Vice President Harris and Governor Walz's plan will raise the corporate tax rate to 28%, still well below the rate that was in place before the Trump tax cuts under both the Democratic and Republican presidents. And their plan will reform the international tax system so that the corporations can no longer get big rewards for shifting jobs and profits overseas. Now, I believe this 100%. Corporate buybacks are manipulation at its finest. A stock buyback or a corporate buyback is when a company repurchases its own shares from the market, reducing the total shares available and often boosting the stock price, benefiting shareholders by increasing their ownership percentage. And a lot of times what happens throughout history is that they get bailed out because they go bankrupt, right? These companies are not profitable. They go bankrupt under economic turmoil. Then they get the money from the Federal Reserve because they're too big to fail, right? These companies have, 1,000 employees, 2,000 employees. They start complaining about if they go bankrupt, then all these employees will have no jobs. The Federal Reserve bails them out, and then they take that money and they buy their own stock price, increasing the price of their own stock and making themselves rich. That's not exactly how it goes, but that's the gist. And this is a problem, and I do agree with this specific policy. Now, this policy, to be honest with you, I don't know what she's thinking. She wants to increase capital gains to 28% for people that make over $1 million annually. For Americans who earn $1 million a year or more, the tax rate on their long-term capital gains will increase from 20% to 28%. Now, what bothers me is that people that make over $1 million a year are producing jobs in the economy in a lot of cases. They're producing value in the economy, and they're essentially holding their fair share of what's going on. There's a lot of people that don't work, that get a lot of benefits for not working, and this is such a small number in my opinion. People that make $1 million a year, that is not considered wealthy in any way, shape, or form. It seems again like she's trying to play Robin Hood, but the truth is that she's putting a tax on people that actually produce value for the world. And to me, I don't like that as an entrepreneur because I know what it takes to become an entrepreneur. I know how much risk I have to put on my shoulders as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of people that make maybe less than 100K a year. They do not have to take the type of risk that I have to take. So in my personal opinion, I think this is a direct attack on the value produced in America, and I do not believe in it at all. Now, there's so many other policies that you guys should look into for yourself to do your own research, but the general gist is this. From my personal opinion, I think she's making a lot of short-term moves, a lot of political moves. If you noticed, her goal is to rebuild the middle class, right? So she's essentially trying to give a whole bunch of money to the middle and lower class while kind of taking it from the rich, like a Robin Hood mentality. See, the problem with this is that it probably gets some votes. For sure, it's going to get some votes, but is it the long-term necessary thing that we need for the United States? Personally, I would say no. I would say that there's other ways you can incentivize productivity in the country. What I believe is that you don't just give somebody that doesn't deserve it money out of thin air. You do, and sometimes, right? There's nothing wrong with giving. I give to the homeless all the time. But to make it official policies, to me, it sounds kind of crazy. I believe in fostering economic value. My goal is to incentivize people that are producing value in the country and make sure that they can keep doing it. And maybe they could even multiply what they've learned on other people so that they could do it too. And next thing you know, this will be the greatest exporting country in the world, right? Maybe we'll get back to our former glory in the Industrial Revolution when people were buying things from us instead of us buying things from other people. But what's happening is we see a Kamala Harris, in my opinion, from what I've seen in general, just giving a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of random people and taking it from very rich billionaires. Sure, do billionaires have a lot of power? Of course they do. But they obviously know something that poor people don't. And there's a reason they got to where they are. So personally, I believe reality is fair. No matter what strategic advantage that you grow up with, in general, I personally believe that there's a way to even the playing field. I think that there's a lot of people that invest in innovation that the billionaires can't see. For example, cryptocurrency. There's a lot of billionaires, like a vast majority of the billionaires do not see the potential of this market. And there's a lot of people like me and you that have invested in this market that will get a strategic advantage because of this. Do I believe that certain people get dealt a bad hand in life? Yes, I do believe that 100,000%. I do believe that there's certain people based off of their background, how much money they make, where they were raised, all inhibit them from growing in reality. I believe this 100%. But in general, I believe reality is fair. I believe that over a long period of time, anyone can get out of any economic situation as long as they put in the work, they have the character, and they keep pushing forward. And this is actually something I dealt with in my life. I was broke, I was poor, I was homeless for a couple weeks at one point, and I got myself out of it. So this is something I truly believe in. And those people that come from nothing usually produce the most value. So I think this needs to be incentivized. Maybe education systems, like why isn't the money going to education systems to help people with entrepreneurship, help people build businesses, side hustles, things like this? I think that's more important than just taking money from other people and giving it to them, right? I think it's just a short-term band-aid fix. That's my personal opinion. And since you guys know I believe in the Bible, Proverbs 10:4 says, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. So it's not Kamala Harris that brings wealth. I believe God brings wealth. And I believe diligence, hard work, right? Wisdom, these things bring wealth, not Kamala Harris. Also, 2 Thessalonians 3:10, for even when we were with you, you gave us this rule. The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. So somebody that's unwilling to work, getting free benefits, I don't know. Proverbs 13:11, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but he who gathers little by little will increase it. Long story short, people that gain wealth little by little, that put in effort to just win and make money over time will generally deserve it and actually not dwindle their wealth. People that are just given handouts will probably lose it. This is why we see a high suicide rate when it comes to people specifically winning the lottery. This is also why we see a high suicide rate with rappers, because they're giving a whole bunch of money, right, in one specific time. Do they deserve it? A lot of them do. Some of them don't. And this is why we see this. Now let's take a look at President Trump's policies and what he has said on the internet. Basically, what is he going to do with the country's money? First things first. He says that he's going to provide the middle class, upper class, lower class, business class with big tax cuts. So everybody gets a tax cut, right? He also claims that he's going to end taxation on Social Security. Now, where is that money going to come from? That's a big question I have for Trump is like, hey, where is all of this money coming from, right? He also plans on lowering the corporate tax rate to 15%, the exact opposite of Kamala Harris. He's lowering taxes for pretty much everybody. He also wants to add a tariff, which is basically a tax on foreign goods of 10 to 20%. And he wants to do an aggressive 60% tariff on goods from China.
It's like you're describing. On energy, on drilling, on lower taxes, on deregulation and so forth. I mean, that's going to help the dollar a lot. It would seem to me, well, let me ask you what you're thinking here. Would you want tariffs on foreign goods coming into the U.S., take those revenues and cut taxes on American goods and American families here? Would that be something in a second Trump term?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Number one, I think we should have a ring around the collar, as they say. I think when companies come in and they dump their products in the United States, they should pay automatically, let's say, a 10% tax. That money would be used to pay off debt. It's a massive amount of money, even at 10%. But India is very big. Brazil is very big on tariffs. I mean, very, very big. And we had a couple of people, like the senator from a place called Pennsylvania that I love. But this guy was just horrendous. I said, let me ask you a question. If India is charging us 200% and we're charging them nothing for products, can we charge them 100%? No, sir, that's not free trade. Can we charge him 50%? No, sir. 25, 10, anything? No. I said, what the hell is wrong? There's something wrong. You know who I'm talking about.
I do.
Every single thing we tried to get through, he would try and block. So if India's charging us too, so what I want to have is a called retribution. You could call it whatever you want. If they charge us, we charge them.
Reciprocity.
You could call it anything. There's many names. You call it equalization. If they charge us, we charge them.
So it seems like what he wants to do is put these 10% tariff taxes on everybody and then like more aggressive for other people, use that money to basically lower taxes for everybody in America. It seems pretty legit. Again, at the end of the day, I have no idea. But what I do know is that this guy has been making money for a long time. He's a billionaire. So it seems like he has a plan. And I have to listen, got to listen to the billionaire, right? And remember, take everything with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, billionaire could be greedy, wants to put more money in his pocket and screw everybody else over. But from what I see and from what I'm gauging, all the conversations, everything I've seen, all the policies and enacting, it just doesn't make sense for him to do that. That's like a narrative, right? It's like a story. They're trying to make him a horrible person. I really don't see that from everything I've ever watched. And again, I want to be clear with everybody watching this video. I'm not specifically a Trump supporter or Kamala Harris supporter. I'm like in the middle. I'm a Jesus supporter, a God supporter. I love God. But I will vote based off of what I think is the truth. And it feels like, Trump is being honest. He does interviews. Kamala Harris doesn't. Everyone knows who he is. I was watching this Joe Rogan podcast and Trump asked him, hey, why do you think I won the elections in 2016? And I think Joe Rogan hit it on the head. It was like, hey, man, you say the crazy stuff, that kind of gets everybody to react. But at least you're honest and human. At least people know who you are and you actually speak your truths, even if it could be wrong or whatever the case is. And I feel the same way. I feel like, the reason why people vote for Trump is because he's just real. He just says his mind, even if it's wrong, even if it sounds crazy, even if it's like actually wrong, like seriously wrong, like sinning or whatever the case is, at least he speaks his mind. We cannot say the same thing about other politicians. When it comes to politics, they're reading off of scripts. We don't know who these people are. Like we just have no idea about them. So let's try to pull everything together. So we have two different presidential candidates, right? We have the first one, which is a very business-minded candidate that's extremely pro-crypto, that has his own NFT project and has also had his son launch a DeFi product. And he was at Bitcoin 2024 speaking and all these crazy things, talks about crypto all the time, talks about benefiting crypto or whatever the case is, right? We have another presidential candidate that doesn't talk too much at all, usually reads off of scripts, has gotten her start when it comes to becoming a presidential candidate through politics. She's a politician, right? A politician, a very specific politician. And just to be clear, again, I have no bias. My goal here is to just find the facts and the proof. And from my research, it just really seems, and I'm talking about the perspective of just straight finance, right? So this is a financial perspective. The original goal of this video is basically how the market is going to react, right? Just think about it, how the market is going to react. So this is financially based. This is not voter based, right? So there's obviously a whole bunch of other topics that Trump believes in and Kamala Harris believes in. It has nothing to do with finance, but financially, obviously, the better president is Trump. Even though the data says that Democrats typically do better in the stock market, I believe right now with the specific situation of what we're going through right now, we need Trump to bring up the stock market even more. I think the very clear answer is that the crypto market and the stock market are going to go up no matter what. It's going to be very fruitful no matter what in the next couple of years. But with Trump, crypto is going to go crazy. I think that's kind of like the final thought process on that specifically. What I also believe is that the Federal Reserve is a way better determining factor to the direction of the market than the presidential election. So personally, I believe this whole thing is not even that serious in the first place. I think the biggest factor of the direction of the market is the Federal Reserve. And this is why I'm going to be creating the Federal Reserve videos. You'll see it's coming out soon. Really, really crazy, deep dives into the Federal Reserve and how it affects crypto prices and stock market prices and things of that nature. I think that's way more important. So in general, okay, I think the market direction is not going to be changed too much depending on who gets elected. And I think it's okay. And I think people are going to freak out on both sides, right? There's some people that are going to think Trump is the devil. Some people are going to think Kamala Harris is the devil, whatever the case is. And they're going to get very emotional about it because this is politics, right? But either way, the altcoin super cycle is on, in my opinion. I don't think there's anything that's going to stop it. Obviously, I'm short-term bearish from my videos you guys have been watching. I've been bearish. I've sold all of my cryptocurrency. I'm looking to buy back in. I'm in massive profits. I made a lot of money off cryptocurrency. So, people are like, oh, you made the wrong decision. How could I make the wrong decision when I made money? How is making money a wrong decision, right? Doesn't make sense, but I do believe there's going to be an entry before the end of the year. I will buy back in before the end of the year, and I think we're going to experience the greatest altcoin cycle in the history of mankind. And I also believe that President Trump is going to get elected. So he's going to get elected. I believe there's going to be a market fall. Whether I'm wrong or right, doesn't matter. I'm jumping back in the market, and we're going to be making money off altcoins. Altcoin season is on. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the quality of this content, hit like. If you don't, leave some constructive criticism. Subscribe for more video updates. And like I always say, if you don't get with it, you will get left behind. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.